My name is Maria, and you're listening to the podcast where we deconstruct someone's PhD experience so that you can reconstruct your own. This is a journey with many challenges, but you might find yourself in a similar situation as one of the guests here. Enjoy listening. Hello, curious researchers. Do you believe that you have to work many hours in order to produce results? Do you think that you have to work all the time in order to get a result? I believe differently. I believe that you can have great ideas in a snap of a moment. But then to bring that idea to practice may require a bit more work. If we look at what we are doing during the PhD, we are there to get good ideas. And what we do to ourselves, we want to get good ideas by always staying in the same environment, always sitting in the same office, always sitting the same amount of hours, always doing things the same way. So if we automate this and always do things the same way, it might be also difficult to get fresh ideas. I will give this to you, that my best papers were written at airports. This was such a stimulating environment for me when I would travel somewhere, because I would get this excitement of traveling, of seeing something new, of discovering, of having this really exploration mindset again. And this is what is exciting for us researchers, is that we want to explore, we are curious, we want to see what's next, what's happening. But then we end up putting ourselves in a very dull environment. So the solution that I can offer to you is to put yourself in an environment that will stimulate your creativity and give yourself time and space to get ideas. This means that they might not necessarily come during work hours. And I'm not promoting that you would think outside of the working hours about your work. Quite on the contrary, give yourself a break. Give yourself the permission to do nothing. To have the time when you are sitting in the office, or maybe a different environment. Maybe library is your place to work. Maybe a cafe is your place to work. Maybe a park. Maybe changing all the time helps you. Maybe sticking to a routine helps you. So see what works for you. But I would invite you to see how is it that you can do less. Instead of sitting in the office and just staring at a screen, hoping that this idea will fall from heaven, how can you do something differently? How can you give your mind, your body, and your spirit the break in order to rejuvenate yourself and in order to surprise yourself? So now that I tell you this, your mind will complain, because the mind is used to always being occupied with thinking about the PhD. Even when you go home, even when you go out with peers, you talk about this. So it's very difficult to now switch all of a sudden. Okay, I'm going to do less, but the mind wants something to be occupied with. So let's find something that is already present in your life that allows you to enter a state of flow. And what is a state of flow? This is something that will allow you to not notice the time passing by. When you enter, you get so absorbed with this activity that you have no idea how much time you have spent on it. It just flows. You are not interrupted. You forget about having a phone. You forget about what time it is. You forget about other things that you need to do, quote unquote. This can happen at work, ideally. But also at work, it's important to have an environment that will stimulate this. If we have an environment where everybody enters the office every 15 minutes, there's a lot of noise, there are people talking all the time, your phone vibrates, you have your browser open. It's very easy for the mind to say, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable now because I don't have the inspiration. So let me look at my phone. Let me look at social media. Let me grab a coffee. Let me chit chat to a friend. And that is all fine as long as it doesn't become a repetitive cycle where you are escaping from yourself. How can we invite this state of flow? If it's very difficult to find it at work, have a look where is it present in other areas of your life. It might be during cooking, it might be during movement, any kind of movement. It can be walking, it can be any kind of sport, it can be dancing, anything that gets you fully absorbed in an activity. And also find examples when you had the most chill time that brought you a lot of energy that you could use for work and for PhD. For example, when you went away traveling for the weekend and that fueled you with energy that you could use during the week. So you come back all refreshed, all replenished, and you are like, yes, now I have the energy to do something about this PhD. And this is an example that might not happen regularly. Maybe you cannot travel every weekend. But what is it that is present daily in your life? Maybe drinking a cup of tea or coffee in the morning in peace, or during a break at work. Maybe having a walk during your day to give your mind some rest and also engage a bit the body with movement. What else could be present daily that fuels you with energy that you can bring back to work? I will share with you what helped me during the PhD. It was dancing 5 days a week. And I'm not joking. There was a period that I was going dancing 5 days a week. It was quite intense because during the day I would get so exhausted and demotivated at work. And during the night, I would go and dance until 8 hours, which seems like would bring even more exhaustion. But actually, what it brought me is joy, connection, freedom, and flow. And this is exactly what I would bring back the day after to work to fuel my PhD experience. I saw with myself, if I would go back home and if I would just cook dinner and lie on the couch, it didn't work for me because I was already sitting the whole day. I was already staring at the screen the whole day. I was feeling very passive, so I needed some active engagement. I needed to get physically tired in order for my mind to shut off. And shut off in a way that it's used to being turned on. Actually, the mind works so much during dancing because there is this connection to the music. There's a connection to the rhythm. There's a connection to the other person. There is this sense of flow. There is a sense of creation. It's a very creative process because you go there and you start dancing with a person you know or you don't know, but it's all the time new. Even if it's somebody with whom you have danced for many years, every time when you enter this new state of connection and a new song starts and you start dancing again, it's new. For example, you speak with your friends and every time it's a new topic, it's a new connection, it's a new way of exploring things if we are open to that. So this was something that helped me daily to recharge my batteries. This was my sacred place where I would recharge my batteries. Another example is traveling. Well, this is something that happened often for me. I used to also travel a lot during the PhD, but an extreme is taking a month off and traveling to Argentina in the worst period of my PhD. And why I say the worst period, I was really feeling not motivated at all. I had no results. I had no idea what to do next. There was really no sense of moving forward. But still, I'm very grateful that I didn't stop myself and said, oh, now I need to, stay even more in the office until I get results and until I deserve to go because I have these results. But I planned this journey in advance with my friends, and we planned that we're going to stay for a month in Argentina. And, we're just going to explore, we're going to hike. It was a beautiful, beautiful journey. And I'm so happy that I did it. So how many of you allow yourself to take a break before you quote unquote deserve it? Before you get to the point that, okay, now you have gotten a result, now you can get the chocolate, and now here is your piece of cake, you deserve that. And who has instilled this in you? Maybe parents have taught us this, maybe teachers taught us this, that only when we have a good grade, now we can have some rest. In the PhD, the process is not so linear. It's not like you are always going one step higher. You might be going one step higher, 2 steps lower, and then 3 steps higher, 1 step lower. It's a very, very scattered journey. There is no linear progression. Overall, if you look at it, yes, there is linear progression, but it doesn't seem like that when you are in it. So be caring and be mindful and give yourself some time to take a break. For those of you who are hesitating to take holidays, please do it. For those of you who are hesitating and doubting whether you should join a club of a hobby that you enjoy, please do it. This is exactly the place that is going to fuel you with energy. And fueling ourselves with energy can happen in many places. It can also happen that during the PhD, it brings you this inspiration. It doesn't have to be that you have results, but like you just agreed that you will get the lab free for the next week and you're excited about it. So you are bringing this excitement from the PhD to other areas of your life. It's not a clear cut. It's all one and the same, but it's finding ways to get the energy so that you can go on. Because if you get yourself exhausted and if you get out of energy, what then? Then you cannot do anything. There's nobody who is going to do this PhD for you. If you have no energy, you will be exhausted, you will be tired, you will not wish to continue. Then it means your body is really screaming that you need rest. Any kind of rest. When I say rest, it doesn't mean that you have to be a couch potato. Maybe it is. Maybe you need to sleep for the next 3 weeks, 12 hours. Good. If you need that, do that. Maybe you need to engage more in a physical activity. So listen what your body is saying to you. And I'm sure there is a sentence when you say, oh, I wish something. I wish I had more time to do what? What would you do with this extra time if you had it? If you have a wish, please follow it. This is something that if you don't listen to it, just overriding it, this wish will keep coming back. If it's something that really needs to be fulfilled, it will keep coming back. And if you don't do it now, you wait until the end of your PhD, you get so exhausted, and at that moment you're like, okay, now I'm gonna take all the holidays and now I deserve to enjoy, and now I'm gonna take maybe a few months off. Why not do it now already? Why wait until you are extremely exhausted, that you have no energy, so that when this time comes and you decide to take 3 months off, you end up sleeping and not able to do anything? Because we imagine that we're going to have a certain level of motivation and a certain level of energy at a certain time in the future. Nobody knows that. You don't know what is the level of energy that you're going to have. I don't know what is the level of energy that I'm going to have. What we do know is how we are feeling now. Please listen to yourself, to how you are feeling now. And if you are in doubt, like, oh, shall I do this or shall I not? I'm very happy to have a chat. So as a final message that I want to convey here is that hours are not important. It is the activity. We used to hear a lot that time is equal money. And that is true for manual work, where you really need to invest hours to create handmade piece of clothing, for example. But for the mind work that we are engaged in, this is not entirely true. So you can be having a fun day with friends and coming back home having a pop-up idea that will change the course of your PhD. And yes, you need to put the hours afterwards to implement the idea. But to have the initial idea, which is what a lot of us struggle with, is to give ourselves a break. To stop judging and criticizing that we do not work hard enough. And this is a funny concept, work hard enough. What does that mean? Why does it have to be hard? Who said that hard work is the only valuable work? Because some of us, we identify hard work with value. If I work hard enough, then I have provided valuable work. Then I'm valuable. Please reconsider this belief and check what resonates with you and question that belief. And does that still serve you? So maybe reconsider what works for you, what gives you energy and what fills your life with energy. Because energy ultimately is the joy, is the motivation, is what keeps you going. It is your driver. And finally, if this is a topic that you want to work on and you want to discover how to balance your energy, and more than that, I invite you to work together, where you will get coaching from me one-on-one for 4 months, where we are going to discover what are all these beliefs that are blocking you, what are all these things that are robbing you of energy, and what is the way that you want to go through your PhD. Because the way you go through the PhD is the way you will continue afterwards. It is very difficult to have a switch on or off. Maybe now you believe, okay, when I finish my PhD, I will just turn the switch off. PhD is finished, and now I can go back to being myself. And what does that mean, go back to being yourself? If you're used to being somebody during a PhD for 3+ years, your body, your mind are used to that personality. What is it that you want to practice during these few years? What is it that you want to bring afterwards? Who are you going to be when you finish your PhD? Maybe you are somewhere in the beginning of your 20s and you are finishing your PhD when you are close to 30s. And maybe you have this impression, when I finish the PhD, I will know all the answers because, I don't know, people with 30, they have it all figured out. That is how I used to think when I was in my early 20s. When I was in the beginning of a decade, I would think that people who are at the end of the decade, they have it all figured out because there's so much time in front of me that I can discover it. But if I'm not consciously going through this, I was just waiting for this to, fall from the sky upon me and say, yes, now you have turned 30 and now you know all the answers. Not really how it works. But yeah, it's funny that we think, maybe we are entitled to something when we turn a certain age, that wisdom just shows up on our door and says, okay, stop fooling, it's been enough. Now you become this wise person. So here it is, I hand you over this piece of paper which is going to make you super wise. It is actually the training, and it's a process, and it's a fun process. Can be scary, can be something that we don't want to deal with, but since you are doing a PhD, I believe that you are a person who has the capacity to deal with a lot of things, really a lot of things that you might not be even aware of. And I already congratulate you for this. I congratulate you for being on this journey, for arriving where you are right now, because you already demonstrate that you can handle a lot, really a lot. Now let's see how you want to proceed from here. I do invite you to think, who are you going to be at the end of your PhD, and start practicing being that person right now. Good luck. Thanks for listening to this podcast episode. If there was anything that you discovered or found remotely interesting, do share. I'm always curious to hear what is it that you resonated with. See you in the next episode.